Hello guys, and welcome back to my video. So continuing with our e-commerce series app, we are going to be serving orders or placing orders, and we make sure that we are going to save them to our firebase firestore database, right? So without wasting much time, let's go into our model folder. So we need to create a file called order.dat file. Okay. So now we are going to be using the first package. So we're just going to say it first, then we're going to use an abstract class order. And then one thing you need to make sure that it's JSON serializable, right? Make sure that it's JSON serializable, and explicit. Make sure that you put explicit to JSON. Set explicit to JSON. You must set it to true. Otherwise, if you don't do this, you are going to get an error because we are going to be saving a list of cut items in our orders database. So that list need to be converted into a JSON format. That's why we are putting this annotation, a JSON serializable, right? So the next thing is we need to create a constructor. Okay, so constructor order, and then what we need is the user's ID, because we are going to use that to get orders according to the user ID. The next thing that we need is a list of cut items, because we must save those cut items into database, right? Cut item, and then let's just name them products like this, and then we need to import this cut item. Okay, the next thing that we need to save the total, so it's double, which is going to be total. And then we also require an order ID. Okay, we also require the address, because if we are collecting orders, we'll need the address for making deliveries. Okay, the next thing that we need a boolean, which we are going to use to track if the order is accepted, and then another boolean. We're going to check if it's delivered, and then also another boolean. We're going to check if the order is cancelled. Okay, like this. And then we need the required, and then we need the date time. Okay, so we just need to set it to order like this. All right, so now the thing that we need to just say part order dot freezed dot dat, and then part order dot g dot dat, like this. Put a semicolon. Okay, and then we also need another factory orders order dot from JSON string dynamic Okay, so let's make sure that we import the address model class. Okay, so now that we are done with this, let's make sure that we just run the so make sure that you run this command flutter pub run build runner build delete conflicting outputs to generate freezed classes. Okay, as you can see, now we have generated this order.freezed class, and then we need to also generate another using the pub.g.dat. Okay, like this. So let's just run it. Okay, so what we've done here, we have created this order model. Inside our order model, we are going to have the user ID, which we are going to use to retrieve orders made by a certain user. We also have a list of cart items, which we call products, and then the total cost of the order made by the user. And we also have the order ID, so that each order will have a unique ID. And then we are going also to take in the address from the user, and then we are going to check if it's accepted, if it's delivered, and then if it's cancelled. And then the next thing is we're gonna need the date time, so that we record the time that the order is made, right? So now the next thing that we are going to do is we are now going to move into our order services folder. So let's go into our services. Let's create a folder service .dat, like this. Then we have class order service. Okay, so now what we need is we need firebase firestore. We also need firebase auth. Also need firebase auth. So it's supposed to be firebase auth. Okay, let's just import it. The next thing that we need is also we need firebase storage, but I don't think firebase storage is not necessary. So now we just need to create a constructor for the order service. So required firebase firestore, and then we also require firebase auth. Firebase auth, and then firebase auth like this. Then firebase firestore is equal to firestore, and then firebase auth is equal to firebase auth like this. Okay, so now what we need to do is collection. We need to create a collection reference. And then we create a getter for getting our orders, which is equal to firestore dot collection. Okay, so if we go into our constants folder, I think we have constants, firebase constants here. Let's just copy this and then let's paste it below. Let's change this to orders, then let's just change this to orders. Okay, like this. Okay, so for the collection path, we are going to say firebase constants dot orders. Okay, we are good to go. And then we need to create either create an order which is going to take in an order, and then it's going to return. So if it's successful, we are going to return orders dot document. And then the document, we need the order ID. So why is it not saving? So order exists inside the Cloud Firestore. So what we need to do is let's just change this to order model. So it's clashing with our with another class. So let's just change this to order model. And then order model from JSON. Okay. Order model. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's just run okay, so now we are back. So let's just change this to order model. Yeah, perfect. So order ID, and then we need to set, and then we are going to say order to JSON. Okay, like this. Okay, so here we just need to import fp dot. Now we are done. So what are we doing here? So this function is the function that we are going to use to create an order, which takes in the order model, and then it's going to, if it's successful, it's going to return the orders.document. So the document that we are saving our the document that we are using to save our data is going to be of order ID, and then we are going to say inside that document we are going to set our order, which is order to JSON, right? So let's create our next function, which is getting a list of orders, right? Because we will need to get those orders. So order model. So we're going to say get user orders like this. So we are going to use a string which is going to be user ID, and then what we are going to do is we are going to just return orders dot where. So this is a query. We are going to return orders where the UID in our fields, we want that to be equal to the user ID. So if they are equal, then we'll then get the snapshot, and then we are going to map those snapshots, right? So we are going to map those snapshots, list order model like this, orders, which is go to there. So we are going to store them inside this list. And then we are just going to scroll dot docs, and then we are going to say order dot add. So we are going to add those orders that we are getting from our database inside our array. Okay, order model dot form JSON, right? So we're going to pass this doc to data like this is map So after this, what we are just going to return these orders. Okay, so here what are we doing? Here we are just going, this function we are just going to get the orders that belongs to a particular user. That's why we use this query where UID, this is the field in our database. If it's equal to the current user ID, we are going to get the snapshots, and then we are going to map through each and every document in our database to find if that document if that user UID matches the user ID. If it matches, we are going to store that document inside our list of orders, and then we are going to just return those orders. Okay, so that's it for the order service. What we need to do now is to create the order controller. Okay, so before we proceed with the order controller, what we need to do is we just need to create the order provider. Right, we just need to create the order service provider. So let's find our order service provider is equal to provider. Then we need to pass in the order service like this, and then for the firestore we're going to say reference.watch firebase firestore provider, and then for the firebase auth ref.watch firebase auth provider like this. Okay, now we're done with this. Now let's move on to the order controller. So if we go into the controllers, right, so we are going to just say order controller to that like this. Okay, So in this order controller, we are using the state notifier, but we are using the state notifier, but according to Riverport documentation, it's now deprecated. So I didn't want to just change it. I want to make a one video that I will have to just refactor everything, so that we'll just do it in one video, and then we can just change everything, and then we do it in proper practice to Riverport. So if you are already ahead, you already know about the notifier, don't worry about it. A separate video will come where we'll make sure that we just refactor everything. Okay, so we're going to say final order service, and then order service like this, order service. Okay, so now we're on order controller. All right, we're going to pass in required reference, and then required, let's pass in the order service. Okay, so now we just need to pass ref, this goes to ref, and then order service, this goes to order service, and then super. So for the super state, we just make sure that it's go to false. All right, so now the first thing we need to do is create a future of type void, which is going to create an order. So here for the parameters, what we need is the build context. Build context. We also need UID. We also need a user model. We're going to just name it user, and then we also need the address model, which we are going to name address. And then the next thing is the total. And then let's just change it to async. Okay, so let's just import these methods. All right, now that we are done, what we need is the order ID. So for the order ID, is going to be with a constant. We're going to using UUID .v1 like this. Right, and then let's create an instance of the order class, order model. And then, so for the products, we need to pass in the user.cut, and then to list, we need to convert that to a list. For the total, let's leave it like that. For the order ID, we also have the order ID. For the address, let's leave it like that. And then for the date, we need to pass date time dot now. Yeah, okay. And then for is accepted, at first when the order is placed, it will not be accepted. So we said that to false is cancelled, also it will be false. And then also if a user just places the order, it can be delivered. So false, you get the logic like this. Okay. And then what we are just going to do is final response is equal to order service dot create an order. The create an order is, we're going to pass in the order instance that we created at the top there. And then we set the state is equal to false, right? Like this. And then what we are going to say, res dot fold, right? So if somehow we have a false, what we are going to do, we are just going to show a scaffold. We are just going to show a scaffold messenger. So utils, if we go to our utils, I think we have this show snake bar. So what we are going to do is we just need to show snake bar like this, and then I think we just need to import it. Show snake bar, and then l.message, l dot two positional arguments, show dot, and then context, and then context. And then the next thing that we do, if it's successful, what we just need to do here is show snake bar, pass in the context, and then the text order has been placed successfully. Order has been placed successfully. Okay, like this. This one is now correct. So for getting the orders, what we just need is stream, which is going to be a list of orders, which you say order model, like this. Get user orders, and then string user ID, and then return order service dot get user orders, and then we pass in the user ID like this. Okay, so we are done with the controller. So in the controller, what we were doing is we need to create an order. So we use this future create order function. So we first need to create this order ID, which you are going to use UUID. If you can just generate random numbers, and then we create an instance of the order model class. We pass in the products. From the products, we pass in the items that are in the user's cart, and then we pass in the total order ID, and then the address, and then the date, which is datetime.now. And then we have these parameters. It's accepted, we set them to false, since when the user places an order, it's not accepted, it's not cancelled, it's not delivered, right? And then we create this order, passing this instance inside our create order. And then we use this method to show that if it's not successful, we are going to display a message. If it's successful, we are going to display a message that order has been placed successfully. Okay, so let's make sure that we create the order controller provider. Okay, so final order controller provider. This goes to state notifier, state notifier provider, and then we're just going to pass in the order controller and a boolean as parameters, like this. And then we pass in the reference, and then order controller, and then we pass in the service reference dot watch, then order service provider, like this. Okay, and then we also need another provider, which is get user orders, which is going to be also a stream. We are going to pass in a stream provider dot family, and then we need to pass in the reference, and then the argument. The argument is going to be user ID. And then we're going to say final orders is equal to reference dot watch order controller provider, like this, dot notifier. Okay, and then we just return dot notifier dot get user orders, and then we pass in the user ID. So we pass in the user ID, and then we just return orders, like this. Okay, so that's it for the order controller. Now we're done with the order controller. So now the next step that's left is if you go into our checkout, we go into our views, and then our checkout page. If we go into our elevated button that we created, what we just need to do is we just say ref dot read, because if you are reading providers from a button, you need to use read, and then get user data provider, and then we're going to say current user dot uid. Okay, current user dot uid, and then dot when and then dot when data. Okay, so when data, and then what we are going to just do is we make sure that if there is when data, we need to just return reference dot read. We need to read the order controller provider dot notifier, and then we create an order, and then for the UID we pass in current user dot UID, and then for the user, what we just need to pass in the value, and then for the total we just need to pass in the user info dot so we need to make sure that what did we name this? Your products user data. So we need to pass in the user data dot print total, like this. Okay, so that's it for placing orders. So let's just test our application. Let's see. Okay, so let's just see, and let me just drag this Chrome tab and let us bring it. Let me just bring it here where it's visible. Let's go into our Firebase Firestore. If you go into our Firebase Firestore database like this, let's refresh it. You can see that there are no orders. If we add, we have 2 items in cart. Then if we say place order, and you can see that order has been placed successfully. So if I just reload, you can see now we have the orders column. Inside the orders document, you can see that we have the address, we have the date, and then we have our products. Okay, so for the date, we made a mistake. I named it as data instead of date. So we just go and rename it, and then after that we can just run our command flutter build runner like this. Okay, so here you just need to change it to date. Then I think we need to change it also somewhere. Yeah, so I think that's it. We've changed it to date. That's it. So that's it, guys, for placing our orders and saving them to Firebase Firestore. So in the next video, we are going to be integrating now payments. We are now moving to the interesting part. We are going to be integrating payments with the Stripe, and also we are going to be getting orders, pending orders, and the users history of their orders. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.